Right.
Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMAC coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for not a one, a two, but a three-game main Saturday slate. First time we have seen this in a long time. I cannot recollect one, but we're even going to throw in that bonus 5 o'clock game. We'll go game by game today. Adam, my holiday's been great. How has your holiday been?
It was good. Actually, still at my mom's. Decided to stay there an extra day or two. So that was nice. Partly because I don't feel like I'm putting off Ubering back to Baltimore as long as I can because apparently my parking garage closes on holidays. So the only reason I have a car is to visit my family like on holidays, and I go to get my car and I can't get out. So um, yeah, that was a good start to my Thanksgiving. But yeah, stayed at my mom's.
Hashtag tout life. That's
Yeah,
what I'm going to do there.
yeah. So still at my mom's. Hanging out there. So it's been a nice weekend.
Nice. Well, my mom's out visiting us. She's been out here for a couple weeks and is here for another 3 or 4 days. So that's a good time. We had a nice family dinner. My aunt and uncle came down from New Jersey, and I have a cousin that lives in D.C. So she came out with her husband, and we hosted Thanksgiving dinner here. Very traditional. It was sausage lasagna with a very garlicky salad, some amazing bread, and then my wife made. Anybody who goes and looks at my Twitter, she made a turkey, but it was a turkey made out of cheese and crackers and summer sausage. It was very nice. There were no turkeys harmed in the making of that turkey, Adam. It makes me laugh. I know. Dad jokes. That's what our buddy, my buddy Derek Farnsworth, his wife Heather, tweeted at me. And you guys know him. It's notorious. I actually got to meet them before any of us worked in the DFS world at the very first DFS get together in the history of DFS get-togethers. Once upon a time, they drove down from Utah to Las Vegas. I think one of them was still in college, and the other had just graduated, and they had just gotten engaged. So that's when I got to meet them. So I've known them since 2000. I want to say 2011, 2012, or early 2012, something like that. So I've known them for a long time. But yeah, she threw out the hashtag dad jokes, EMAC, dad jokes. So there we are. There we are. But it's been a good time here and there. But let's get into our slate here. This will be a shorter podcast than normal again because, gosh, we really only have 3 games on the main slate. Adam and I, of course, will go game by game on these on Saturday morning. We'll go at 9:30. It'll probably be about 30-40 minute show. We'll break down everything. We should have some additional news because we have, let's see, Indiana, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Charlotte will all be on back to back. So we don't most of those games have just started or are heading towards halftime. So we don't know a lot of any injury updates, etc. So we may have more throughout the night, but we'll break those down for you. And then, of course, you will get live before lock with Fast Eddie Fair at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. And then in the interim, I believe we will have 1 or 2 NFL shows. I'm pretty sure there'll be one at 11. That'll be the NFL DFS strategy show with Chris Randone, who will be wrapping up with Sal Vitri. And then I think it will be on the contrary. I'm just not entirely sure because it's a holiday weekend. I know a ton of people are traveling, but definitely check that out. And then we've got all sorts of articles and good stuffs behind the paywall. Adam, the first game, 5 o'clock slate. So it looks like if you are playing it on anything, it looks like a single game slate, but it is Denver at Sacramento. Kind of a fun game here. We've got Sacramento 4-point home dogs. You've got Denver coming in. Jokic, of course, has seen his price dip just a little bit here on a few of the sites that are doing some all-day slates. So it does look like FanDuel, and these are small price pools, but FanDuel and Yahoo do have some all-day contests for those going off at 5, but they're rather small. Not that that's a bad thing because there's not going to be a ton of content for this stuff. But what do you like here from the first game? Let's start off with the Denver side.
Yeah, I mean it's the same Denver team we've had all year. There's no real injuries that we're dealing with right now. So Jokic, if you can find him favorably priced, it is a nice matchup against Sacramento. Not an interior or not a front court that you should be too concerned about defensively. It should be a really slow game though. That's the one I think negative here. Sacramento's played at last I looked the 27th fastest pace this year, and Denver was either last or second to last. So I expect a pretty slow game, half court offenses. But you do know the offense will run through Jokic. You know that Murray and Barton give you legitimate scoring upside, and then Harris and Millsap, kind of price plays if you can find them cheap because they're capable of big games, but they're definitely the ones that you feel least confident in.
All right, and since most people will be playing this as a solo slate, as we look to the Sacramento side, what exactly is going on with their backcourts? Obviously, they're running very thin. We've finally got Corey Joseph playing, a boatload of minutes, but he's literally doing nothing with them. His last game, he played 28 minutes, scored 2 points. These are NBA points. The game before that against Boston, 35 minutes, scored 5 points. Against Washington, 36 minutes, scored 10 points. His fantasy totals not much better than the raw points. Is he someone you can consider? Perhaps Paul Millsap is on the opposite team, but let's see. So Yogi Ferrell is going to kind of be a bygone there. What about Joseph, Bielitsa, Buddy Hield? I guess it just doesn't seem like a good spot against Denver.
Really, really tough spot against Denver. A slow team that plays well defensively. Hield's the guy that you would have the most confidence in just because his minutes are secure and you know that he's going to get up a lot of shots. Bielitsa and Joseph, both secondary options where, with it being a shorter slate, if you can find decent pricing on them, they're fine. Same really goes for Rashawn Holmes, who should play pretty big minutes against a big Denver front court. But I think Hield's the guy that you feel most confident in here. Hield and Bogdanovich. But Bogdanovich, his minutes haven't been quite where they were before his injury. We've seen, I think, 28, and 30 minutes in his 3 games back.
All right. Now we're on to the main slate. We have 1 7 o'clock, 2 8 o'clock games. Let's see. We do not have the over-unders yet for Indiana and Philadelphia. Both of them are, again, playing on Friday night here. Atlanta at Houston. We have Houston favored by 12.5 and then the final game, the 8 o'clock game, is Charlotte at Milwaukee. We've got Milwaukee favored by 14. The reason that Philadelphia is not showing yet is they held out Al Horford on Friday night. Joel Embiid did play. He has done 1 back-to-back this year. Adam, we'll start off with Embiid here. I know he's playing against New York. New York has had the last 5 times they've played him. 2 of them have been close. 2 have been ass kickings by Philadelphia, and 1 was a mediocre game. But with regards to Embiid, he's only played 1 back-to-back. I think he played on the second day 27 or 28 minutes. I'm going from memory there. That feels about what he would play. We could see him sitting. I believe this is the NBA TV game or the NBA channel game. What do you want to do without any news? What is your initial read on Embiid? And of course, this is the first of the 2 games starting at 7, so we will have information. But as you're trying to construct lineups.
Yeah, so Brett Brown was asked about it before Friday's game. He said, I don't know. I'll leave that up to the sports science guys. So I have no idea what to expect with Embiid.
Awesome. That's what I say.
Yeah. The pricing is pretty favorable. He's 9,500 on DraftKings. Not a great matchup against the Pacers, a slow team that is pretty solid defensively. Second game of a back-to-back, too. Obviously, you have some concerns there, especially with a rested Horford. Obviously didn't play on Thursday, and then got Friday off as well. So I think that Embiid's fine, but even if he plays, I think there's reason to be skeptical of his minutes. I would give, I think, a slight edge to Horford, or maybe Ben Simmons. But overall, I think it's just kind of a pretty unappealing spot because none of these guys, if everyone's in, none of the Sixers are that favorably priced, and it's a tough matchup. If Embiid's out, then I think Horford becomes a lot more appealing because he's going to get the start at center. He sees his rates incline across the board without Embiid. Simmons and Harris become better plays as well. Richardson, if he's in, same thing. So if Embiid's out, it's kind of like everyone on Philly is really good. But if Embiid's in, then there's not a whole lot that I like.
All right. Just looking at any of the excitement that we have tonight, there's not really. Click on it. So they are. Well, there's a little excitement if you're a Knicks fan. They are up by 18 heading as the second quarter winds down here. Embiid has played 15 minutes thus far. He is still in the game, so he may wrap it up to the half. That'll be another minute and a half. So they may try to secure this win, and if he has to play a ton tonight, that would not shock me if he's sitting out tomorrow, or depending on if they feel like getting fined or not, maybe a ceremonial start. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We'll try to read the tea leaves as we get additional information there. Branching out from the rest of them, Horford coming back, rested, feels like they might rest another player, perhaps Harris. I don't think they would really rest Simmons because they want their name guys out there, but you're right, that one is kind of a mess on that side. Matisse Thybulle, University of Washington, 4-year player. I'm wearing my Huskies alma mater shirt right now. Adam, he has taken more than 5 field goals once this season, and more often than not takes 3 or less.
Sounds about right. More steals, more blocks than field goal attempts.
It's pretty crazy. So phenomenal player. Just be careful. He was coming into Friday off a 30 fantasy point game, and a lot of people were getting really excited about him. Yes, if he gets 5 or 6 stocks, as Laffy likes to call the combined steals and blocks category, phenomenal. If that doesn't happen, you're in trouble because he's not getting the other peripherals there. And if he does get the peripherals and those stocks, yeah, he's going to have a monster game. But I have played him a few times and been very disappointed. He is a phenomenal player to watch. He's an outstanding defender, and there literally is nobody like him in the NBA right now with what he is doing. But that does not make for a good fantasy play. On the other side here, we have the Pacers, Adam. They are at full strength. You've got literally everybody back with them. That kind of makes them lose their luster. What can you tell us about the Pacers?
It's still, I think, a pretty appealing team in good matchups. This isn't a good matchup, especially if Embiid's in there. It's a Philadelphia defense that is really strong, but still really favorable pricing on Indiana. Malcolm Brogdon dropped from $7,900 on Friday to $7,300 today on DraftKings. Domantas Sabonis is down to $7,700. Every salary on this team is affordable. And when you're talking about a smaller slate, you're talking about someone in Malcolm Brogdon who's averaging 1.3 points per minute and should play 30 plus minutes. Sabonis doesn't really take much of a hit no matter who's on the floor. He contributes across the board and should play 34 plus minutes as long as the game's competitive. Those guys still stand out as top plays. And then you just get pretty cheap options with TJ Warren below 5K, Miles Turner at 5,700. It's not a good matchup, but you only have 3 games on the slate. They all have issues of their own. This game it's the pace and 2 quality defensive teams. The next 2 games it's that you have a terrible Atlanta team at Houston and a terrible Charlotte team at Milwaukee. So who knows how many quarters we get of those games. You can find flaws everywhere, but I think that the pricing on Indiana is really, really favorable.
All right, let's move on to the next game here. That's going to be Atlanta at Houston. Let me update my filters here so we can look at that by game. So again, Houston favored by 12.5. We have a 237.5 over under. Atlanta has been playing fast. They, of course, will be coming into this on a back-to-back. No word yet on if this is a Russell Westbrook break for him getting the day off. I want to just see quickly here if I can get to Houston when they play again. The Thanksgiving holiday kind of tweaked a few things. A couple of the teams that were hosting games on Wednesday night actually got off through the weekend, but the teams playing on Friday, as mentioned, a bunch of them that are playing Saturday are in that back-to-back, which can be a little bit frustrating. Did I buy myself enough time clicking on Houston right now? Riveting, I know, but not to fear. This is going to be one of our quicker podcasts. We have Houston off until Tuesday. So for those of you that are wondering, they head out to San Antonio on Tuesday. They are in Toronto on Thursday, back home versus Phoenix on Saturday, home versus Sacramento on Monday. Then they're in Cleveland on Wednesday, in Orlando on Friday. That means their next back-to-back is that Friday, Saturday, the 13th and the 14th. I think we're safe for Russell Westbrook. This means, how do we feel about paying for the Houston options against Atlanta on a back-to-back, who tends to play well into the fourth quarter, keeping teams around or keeping starters around when they're at home? It's a different story when they're on the road, Adam.
Yeah, this game, being in Houston does make it a little bit more favorable there. Capella is doubtful, so another plus spot for Russell Westbrook, who rebounds more, gets a lot more rebounds without Clint Capella out there. James Harden's really expensive. Obviously, if you can get James Harden, by all means, go for it. But I think Westbrook at almost $3,000 cheaper on DraftKings is your better value. And I think you're going to have one of the best values on the slate, and Ben McLemore with Daniel House doubtful, Eric Gordon still out. You're probably looking at 32 plus minutes from McLemore at a near minimum price tag in a favorable spot against Atlanta. Same can be said for Austin Rivers, who's a little bit cheaper. I would give the edge to McLemore, but with it being a 3-game slate, ownership is even more important than on bigger slates. So if a lot of the ownership is going to McLemore, Rivers is a natural pivot there.
All right. Before we talk about Atlanta, I do want to remind everybody that our presenting sponsor is, of course, Yahoo Fantasy. If you have not yet signed up to Yahoo, you can go to the bottom section of any of the Cash Building Blocks articles. Those come out daily and are free. Or you can go to the Primetime NFL articles, which are written for the Monday, Thursday, and Sunday night games that are featured in, wait for it, prime time. Check the bottom section there, and you can find out how to get $30 on your initial deposit at Yahoo. You get the link, instructions, and our promo code. If you deposit $30, they will match that in YSRPs, Yahoo Sports Rewards points, which are available for use into any contest. They ran a couple of amazing contests here over Thanksgiving. I did not get into the football one, but they tacked on, I want to say it was another 25%, or someone told me it was 50%. I didn't see that, but in guaranteed overlay in their prize pool. So that one filled. On Friday, in honor of Black Friday, they ran Purple Friday, which was a contest where they put in a $200,000 contest. They took in 175,000 in entries, and then they topped it up to 200,000. So they put in 200,000 of overlay. What they did is they said, you know what, we're going negative management fees here. We're adding to the prize pool. That did not fill. I'm wondering if they will do something for Cyber Monday. But that NBA contest on Friday night got 13,799 out of 17,500. Couple things you want to know about Yahoo. They do now have CSV upload, and 2, they have CSV edit. The trick there is they have CSV edit, but it needs to be by contest. But if you use a little elbow grease and are in multiple contests and combine those CSV files, you can then pull the data out of any optimizer you want and upload it, and it should work just fine. So putting that out there, part 2, the Apex players generally do not play over there on Yahoo for NBA because they are busy managing their information on other sites, which have larger prize pools. So that provides us some cover, those of us that are ham and eggers. So definitely check that out. Adam, for Atlanta, we don't know what's going to happen to them yet on Friday night, but they do have Trae Young, who is absolutely phenomenal. Start us off with Mr. Young.
Nice pace up spot for Young. Just a fast-paced game overall. Also, Houston's been one of the fastest teams this year. Obviously, don't know how Young does on Friday, but had a tough matchup there. Gets a lot more favorable one against Houston. His price tag dropped about $700 on DraftKings as well. So I really like Young here. I think that he's really favorably priced. It's a spot where you can look to, in tournaments, play the lower owned out of him and Westbrook. Like, I think Westbrook is probably the higher medium projection. Obviously, I haven't done projections for this slate yet, but probably the higher medium projection for Westbrook, but the same ceiling for Trae Young. So if he's going to be a lot lower owned than Westbrook, that's a really good tournament stand to take, I think. Jabari Parker is someone you can take a shot on as well. Cam Reddish, if he's playing on the second half of a back-to-back, is really cheap. He would be another potential pivot to Ben McLemore.
All right, let's head on to our third and final game. This is the Late Night Hammer, going 1 hour after the first two. It is an 8 o'clock game. Charlotte at Milwaukee. Both teams are on a back-to-back. Milwaukee favored by 13.5. 228 over under here. So Charlotte, we know, plays at least a mediocre pace, a little faster than they have previously when they've had lumbering centers. Speaking of lumbering centers, Cody Zeller was out on Friday night. That puts in the more nimble Bismack Biyombo, who is about, 6'8"? Not very tall, but he is going to be going against Barolo and or Rolo. The other thing you want to know about Houston is they really do not play defense well. They are in the top 5 for most points allowed per 100 possessions, and it is not pretty. Let's start off here with the Houston side. Anything you want to take, and it's all got to be with a grain of salt.
Yeah, so assuming Capella's out, he's doubtful. You should get Chandler making the start, but PJ Tucker should benefit. We saw him play a bunch of minutes at center in Houston's last game. Isaiah Hart.
Sorry, I went backwards. Sorry, I said Houston. Where I meant Charlotte. My bad.
Okay.
We've transitioned. I was busy looking at a box score and said something different.
Okay, so
we'll take this out in editing. Oh wait, no, we won't.
Yeah,
chat or chat. Go ahead, make fun of me on Twitter. I've earned that one. But Adam, Charlotte, please.
Yeah, so Zeller's price is down to 4,300. If he's in, that's a good price tag. Biyombo's at 4,500. If Zeller's out, you can go to Biyombo. The one concern you run into with centers against Milwaukee is that Brook Lopez can draw them out of the paint, and you sometimes see their rebounding numbers come down. For that reason, with it being a 3-game slate, if you're looking for a tournament pivot, you could take a look at PJ Washington, who's a similar price and maybe benefits a little bit from that if Zeller or Biyombo, whoever, is spending time closing out on Lopez at the 3-point line. But whoever starts at center for Charlotte, I think is a good value.
All right, fair enough there. And I was looking at the Fred Van Elite fan club. I actually ran 2 of them. One of them was 100 people. That filled silently. I didn't broadcast it. If you want to get in on these, you definitely need to join the Awesemo DraftKings League, and then you will have access to these when I post them. If you look at my pinned Twitter account, then you can see, or my pinned tweet on my Twitter account, you can get in on that. Ran the first 100. One of 2 is me with Fred Van Vliet. He's actually having a decent game. We still have a fair amount of time left, but that's looking good for him against Orlando. And then I ran a 150 and said, hey, top 2 winners, as long as you have an Awesemo avatar and finish first or second, you'll get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. I have given out 9 of those now in our 15 leagues. So get that Awesemo avatar there. We've got a bunch of new people coming in on those 30 free days, and they are loving it. That could be you. You can also sign up rather than wait to win one of those contests using the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, 50% off any 1-month package there. Adam, looking to our other side here, we have Milwaukee. I like what you pointed out in the deep dive article behind the paywall today, saying, hey, we are going to see Giannis Antetokounmpo as one of the best plays every day because he is averaging 1.93 fantasy points per minute. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's been absolutely amazing. And now he gets a great matchup against a Charlotte team that going into Friday's slate was allowing the second most points in the paint this season. Giannis obviously lives at the rim. He excels in transition. Charlotte's a bad defense overall. He's expensive, but we should have plenty of value on this slate with most likely, Macklemore, Rivers, Reddish, not the most appealing value, but still cheap enough guys. Bembry, if Reddish were to sit, it probably shouldn't be that difficult to get to Giannis here if you want to.
All right, and then branching out from Giannis, I believe, was it Middleton that was coming off the bench again here? Or did they end up starting him on Friday?
Middleton came off the bench.
All right, so it is the back-to-back. He is the one guy that has been dinged up somewhat. We are just starting the third quarter. He played 11 minutes there in the first half. I want to see, where's his game log? So he played in his return against Atlanta on Wednesday, played 20 minutes. Now that is about 10 to 15 less than what we normally see him in competitive games. He'll be up there in the low to mid 30s, but he is someone working his way back. Any concerns with him on the back-to-back? Do you think there's any chance he might sit out? That would open up some value with just 6 teams in our player pool.
Yeah, I think there's at least a chance. Probably for both of Middleton and Hill. If Middleton were to sit, you would see even more production from Giannis and from Bledsoe, in addition to more minutes for DiVincenzo, potentially Pat Connaughton. If Hill sits, then you probably see more minutes for Bledsoe, which would obviously be appealing also.
All right, just scrolling through. That kind of everybody back kind of dampens DiVincenzo. Connaughton, etc. But if the aforementioned people are out, they come back into play. Oh, I was wrong. It's a 1 7 o'clock game and 2 8 o'clock games. The way, I pulled the dates, or I pulled the start times a while ago from my file, so I wonder if one of those got changed at some point. Regardless, they all go off within an hour of each other. There are only 3 games on our main slate. There is one game at 5 o'clock. We already mentioned that. That is Sacramento and Denver. Adam and I will talk about all 4 games at a more leisurely pace at 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning. That will turn into a podcast. So, of course, you will have that. You will have some NFL content, a couple shows coming out, and then there will be NHL. Adam, I have a 17% ROI in NHL this season.
Nice. That is like 117% higher than my NBA ROI.
Now, to be fair, I am playing between $50 and $80 a day, and it is in the lower stakes stuff. But it has worked out. I've been having some fun with doing a couple of these winner take-alls. I do a couple booster contests, and then I play in the leagues on DraftKings. So the 59-man, 118-man, or what is it? I think it's like 247. So I try to jump into those, and then whatever quarter jukeboxes they put out. I've been doing nothing but reading the Osmo content, looking at Alex's rankings, and then our projections, and that's it. Lather, rinse, repeat. It has been a lot of fun. That is helping out for my my dabbling in NBA, which I'm seeming to get some wild swings here. I generally, again, use a similar breakdown of contests because I don't like the top-heavy payout structures, but NBA is a cruel, fickle mistress, Adam. Because everything is so tightly projected, if you are wrong, you can get your clock cleaned rather easily.
Yeah, and obviously there's just less variance in projections or less volatility than other sports. So if you are playing a contrarian style, to at least to some extent, which I think which I definitely do in NBA at least, when there's going to be a lot of nights that are just kind of ugly, and then you just hope to make up for a month at a time when you win.
Yep, and so I'm sort of on the other end of the spectrum where I play in the usually don't lose more than half my buy-ins, but on those nights when I lose 80-90%, which has happened a few times lately, it takes me a week to get my way back up there because I'm not playing with as many outlier outcomes, or like using the term volatility as you did. So it takes me a little while to get back there. So those are always eye-opening. I don't have the gigantic evenings very often unless literally everything hits. But it's fun. All I'm waiting for is 1 or 2 lineups to kind of break free. Those are the fun ones to root through the late games, kind of keep one eye on my phone. And the in-game ESPN box scores as I am falling asleep. And that's all I really want. So, hey, it works out for me. Any final thoughts on our holiday podcast, Adam?
Nope.
All right. With that, gamers, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. You can find me at EMACDFS. You can tell us apart because I was the first one that got to 11,000 followers.
Did you say you got there?
I got there.
Damn it. I'm at like 11. I'm at almost 11.9, I think.
You're 10.9. Yes, I went and looked. You are. So for those of you laughing, I hit 10,000. Adam was like at, I don't know, 5,800. And I said, yeah, I hit 10,000 first. You're going to get 11,000 before I do. I was wrong. I barely squeaked by. Adam's going to get 15,000 before I get 11,200. So in any event, I think I've plateaued. But aha, the old guy. Get off my lawn, but follow me on Twitter. With that, gamers, it's Osmo_COM. Good luck.